And this is a nice book. I have, it was won the National Translation Award back before they gave the big prize money.
All right.
All the glory and none of the guilt. Oh well. In any case, I will read the poem first in English and then I'll read it in Spanish so you can hear it. Jorge Tejera was a Chilean poet from a town called Lautaro, which is in the south of Chile, which if you want to know something about the climate and the vegetation of the south of Chile, look around you. It's just like here. I mean, they've got slightly different trees, but the same idea. I'll read it in English, and then I will read it in Spanish. Afternoon in automobile for my brother Ivan. We abandon the village after a drink in the hotel facing the square. We choose the oldest road. We drive slowly past untilled fields, trees disfigured by the rasp of fire. We go into an abandoned orchard to look for wild apples. Then someone says, in the station, there was a girl who looked like I don't remember who. Someone else starts to sing, but when the stars come out to gaze at us with their moist eyes of sad sheep, no one speaks or sings. The old engine rattles, the wind hits us in the face. One friend hands out the bread and wine. Always that is good. And it's good to wish it were eternal, as we believe in the eternity of the night, the wind, the dark roads of the sky. Atardecer en automóvil a mi hermano Iván. Abandonamos la aldea después de beber algo en el hotel frente a la plaza. Escogimos el camino más viejo. Pasamos lentamente frente a tierra sin cultivar, árboles mutilados por los roces a fuego. Entramos a una quinta abandonada a buscar manzanas silvestres. Luego alguien dice, en la estación había una muchacha que se parecía, no recuerdo a quién. Otro empieza a cantar. Pero cuando las estrellas salen a mirarnos con sus húmedos ojos de ovejas tristes, nadie habla ni canta. Trepida el viejo motor, el viento nos da en la cara, un amigo reparte el pan y el vino. Siempre eso es bueno. Y es bueno desear que sea eterno, eterno como creemos son la noche, el viento, los oscuros caminos del cielo. That's a taste of Jorge Tejera. I'll put it over there later. And now I'm going to do something. This anthology just came out, and one of the editors is here, Laura, and I thought I would read my poem in it, because it's also more or less set in Chile, a couple places in Chile, and it's set on February 14th. So we have all the Valentine's Day apparatus still around us. But this takes place sort of in a residencial Londres, which is a kind of a B&B or pension, whatever you call it, in the center of Santiago. I stayed there a few times. And it's sort of one of the old neighborhoods with cobblestones. And I refer to a few places. There was an airline company called TACA. I don't know if they still exist. And I name a number of places from my time in Chile. So it's a narrative poem. It tells a story. But it's also a list. Inventory of your desk, February 14th. Residencia Londres, Santiago de Chile. Pick it up and turn the pages so you don't forget. The address book by the lamp, spattered with cartoon hearts like ruby droplets on its cover. Grupo Tacas Laxa flight plan enfolds a half-used airline ticket. Return fare to Miami. The shot glass floats one carnation snapped from its stem. In the bouquet, your fiancé wired to you like a Zen camellia in the monasteries of his youth. The postcard forwarded from Spire Soames, diamond circlets nestled in festoons of shot silk, reminds you, time to bring in the engagement ring for cleaning. The crystal-lidded trinket box tilts on the desk's edge, crammed with postage stamps, cafe bills, letters with postmarks from Chicago, Boston, and Calcutta stacked up unanswered. A coaster cradles a water glass, chill green lip marks salt the rim. You can still make out the fine print between lines of a city plan and road map. Descubriendo Chile, 1973, right? A while ago. And brittle scraps of rubber band go on clinging to a packet of snapshots from the Atacama Desert. A long-gone lover playing a cane flute on steps of the San Pedro de Toconao church. Dust in his wind-riffled hair, copper slag and sulfur's brimstone glare still blind his eyes after all these years. Look closely. You can still make out signatures on airmail letters, yellowed even then, when your Canon half-frame opened its shutter one last time, and you addressed envelopes from Santiago de Chile in the forward slanted hand of a 22-year-old who knew her own mind, thank you, to parents in Seattle, now half a decade gone. Gaze with that younger woman's second sight at the Atacama's vanished river courses, bone canyons on the cover of A Lonely Planet Guide, Chile, a travel survival kit. Trace the eagle's great seal on passports whose exit visas attest to all you survived. The florist card winks between forget-me-not stems with telegrammed assurances. At the far end of the photo, where the bouquet pays out its fragrance, an old clock radio plays Chopin preludes, 2 a.m., as if your brother still practiced on his Steinway Grand with dreams, as yet unfailed, of giving himself to one great composition. The ring, with its asymmetrical setting, burns into your finger. Passion's afterimage gleaming in the deep space of your brain like the face of a trusted lover. Andean Kena tunes soar over the Puna's desiccated trails. The lover disappeared into history. Wind-stricken ranges almost too high for breathing. Thank you, Laura, and to all the other editors. And this is available around. This is my only copy, but I'm sure. Did you bring any?
I have some in my copy.
All right. Well, yeah, we're going to sell some books when this is over. All right. Where should we go from here? Now for something completely different. No, let's not do that. I have an alter ego. Or shall I say, an alter ego has me. This is Auntie Hattie. She's part of it. She was my pussy hat. She was my pussy hat. I think I had some pink ribbons tied around her. If you look on my Facebook page and go back, go down a few feet, you'll find it. I am the alter ego for a being called Eulene. If you know my email address, she has infected the email address. But Eulene has had several adventures, some of them captured here. Who knows which one of the beings here is Eulene. But I am going to read this poem that appeared in New Letters, a year or two ago, in which Eulene was always very interested in meeting poets of the past. One of the poets of the past, whom she dearly loves, is that mad autodidact and who was a hellfire and brimstone engraver known as William Blake, right? A man who only went once or twice outside of central London and probably spoke in a Cockney accent. But in any case, this poem came about, Eulene's visit to William Blake came about because the poet Franz Wright, no relation, he is the late son of the late poet James Wright. James Wright passed away in 1980, and his son Franz passed away a couple of years ago. Way too young, but he had a hard life that he kind of inflicted on himself. But in any case, he had a poem, Franz Wright had a poem in the New Yorker at one point called I Dreamed I Met William Burroughs. Well, Euleen was very inspired by that, and she thought she would dream of meeting William Blake. So the poem has an epigraph from Franz Wright's poem, which is, I met William Burroughs in a dream. I met William Blake in a memorable fantasy or nightmare. It was some kind of beat coffee house, South Bank or Soho, 1950s or 1790s, I couldn't tell. The clothes were equally fanciful, black velvet capes and wide floppy hats with feathers. Blake sat in state, cross-legged on an immense divan with horsehair bolsters, the soft pop-pop wheeze of hookahs and hubble bubbles being sucked on in the smoky haze behind him. He was florid and robust in his Georgian frock coat, his gaze fierce and piercing. When I asked, "How do you do?" he answered, "All the angels quit, you know. The devil hath the better weaponry, throws better parties, and he don't have to rhyme." Euleen now, I quite fancy that name. Euleen roars and shakes her fires in the burdened air, hungry clouds swag on the deep, etc., etc. I say, could you lend me a quid? Our friend old Nobodaddy sits no more aloft, but here below, a dullish fiend midst a raft of ingrates. Hence you must rejoice without end. Well, I wanted to ask him what he meant, but then the cafe's languid daze was rent by football jerseyed revelers wailing on vuvuzelas, and Blake was whisked away. The dream dissolved into the glare of Stygian day. How about one more, Euleen? Okay,
Yes.
She has another poet that she's very fond of.
How do you spell her name?
Right here, there it is. Eulene. Euleen, yes. Yeah, she's quite, oh, you know, I once got an email, or no, it was a letter, this was before email. I got a letter from some lady in Colorado who wrote me and said, "How did you know my name? You're writing about my life." She actually kind of loved it. Her name was Euleen something. But actually, the name Euleen, I had a drama coach in high school whose name was Euleen Reed. She was tall and stately and just had long arms and always dressed in red with 6-inch high red patent leather heels and long cigarette holders, and she gestured, and she had red glasses, and she was amazing. And there's little me, you know, I'm in red, but I'm still like, you know, I got something to do. In any case, when this alter ego inflicted herself upon me and ultimately took over, I am now the alter ego. Yeah, she demanded to have this name, and so that's what happened. Now you know the whole story, but don't believe everything you get told. Okay, the other poet is John Berryman, a great Oklahoma native who had quite a troubled life, and but he wrote a series of poems called the Dream Songs, all of which are in 18 lines divided into 3 sestets, so 3 sestets, some amount of rhyme, and Euleen rather liked some of them. So this one, we're thinking now, of course, about work, because we're going to transition to a little poetry about work in a minute. And Euleen, of course, was thinking about her job prospects, right? So she decided that she would be the Success Bomb 45. This is after Dream Song 45. And Euleen has taken an epigraph, slightly altered that first line of Berryman's poem. She stared at ruin. Ruin stared straight back. Divested of her armor of thrift store duds, Euleen's the Success Bomb, striking minor triumphs like enemies off her hit list. Lounging in the bathtub's bubbly suds for hours, she plays Start Me Up on her CD player 100 times till her best bodacious parts are wrinkly as gin-stewed prunes. What? We hurry? Euleen growls between the subwoofer's thudding booms and the rhetorical popping of bonbons into her lip-glossed kisser. Ah, she moans and palms like an oracle, the H2O stains blessing her ebook of Berryman's Dream Songs, whichever 18 lines of frantic jabber her finger lands on. Her next career move. Then, horrors! The ebook slips from her grasp, disappears sub-bubble words. Electrifying revelation! Euleen's last flash as the jobless dark comes on. Okay, speaking of joblessness, let's look at raising Lily Ledbetter. We're going to raise Lily Ledbetter the same way we raise us some hell, right? Women poets occupy the workspace. This anthology came about, of course, thinking about after President Obama, who after only a few days in office, his first legislative act was to sign the Lily. All right, hello everybody again. I was cut off in the video for the reading yesterday at the Lane Writers series because the video ended or the power went out or something. In any case, I will continue. It was not a statement or an implicit statement about the viability of the workspace or anything like that. But I am going to resume with a poem of my own about a wonderful work experience that I had back when I was about 17. This was actually my very first job, I think. And the poem is called Not on My Resume, and you'll see why it is not on my resume. I quit. I meant to tell the manager, Lurleen, as soon as I ducked into Pizza Haven that Friday afternoon to collect my final paycheck. A day off from my first crummy job at 17. Tail between my two thick legs, I slunk into the air-conditioned cigarette smoke chill. Skin damp, cheese and pepperoni, a greasy, feasty haze. Pizza hell, I called the place. I was almost ashamed to show up. I was such a lousy waitress, mixing up orders, begging smoker co-workers to empty the ashtrays from my tables, smoothing unused napkins and pushing them back into the spring-loaded metal dispensers. I slowed the whole operation. Even then, a reduce, reuse, recycle fiend before the slogan had ever been invented. Lurleen met me in the aisle between tables whose oilcloth covers I never could wipe clean. She straddled the passageway and growled, "You're fired." Her bulldog jaw worked as if a wad of chaw had found its rhythm and was perfecting its moves in her mouth. Get your paycheck and clear out. She blocked my way to the kitchen, her eyes drilling me with a rheumy blue precision. I stammered, as I had when frat jocks slapped my derriere and each other's backs, then stubbed out their Marlboros in uneaten slices of perfectly good pizza I could have wrapped up and taken home on the sly. It would only have been thrown away. As I'd stammered when Dirk, the afternoon cashier, had caught me at the end of my shift, sliding uneaten slices wrapped in wax paper into my handbag. You can't fire me. I quit, I finally blurted. But Lurleen had already stumped back to the server's station to stack the plastic garlic bread baskets and yell at the new girl to wipe down the red and white tablecloths, almost as checkered as my resume in all the decades since that day. Okay, the next poem is from the anthology Before There Is Nowhere to Stand. This is an anthology of poems by and about the conflict in Palestine, Israel, and it includes poems by Jewish poets, Palestinian and Arab poets. And this poem has to do with the young woman named Rachel Corrie, who was a graduate, actually, or as a student at Evergreen College in Olympia, Washington, in the early 2000s. She had gone to Palestine to work as a human rights supporter and as a sort of a witness to the destruction of Palestinian homes by bulldozers of basically the occupying power. And she was in the town of Rafah, which is in, I guess, the Gaza Strip. And what happened to her was that she was wearing a fluorescent orange vest and all the, so as to enhance visibility, and standing there to try to block one of these huge D9 industrial size bulldozers, made by the U.S., of course, and sold to any country that wants to buy them. In fact, I think the country that bought them, called Israel, had bought them with money given to them by the U.S., but in any case, she was trying to block the progress of this bulldozer in bulldozing down homes in Rafah. However, she somehow slipped and fell, and the bulldozer ended up running over her and backing up and then running over her again, and it was terribly gruesome, and she died. It was a major news event for about 2 days, but this was the 16th of March 2003 when this terrible incident happened, and 3 days later, of course, was the beginning of shock and awe when the U.S. planes went in and began bombing Baghdad. And so that was the start of the long war, and the war which is still going on, actually, in some form or another in the Middle East, the war that invaded Iraq and destabilized that whole region. In any case, this is the poem. It is a round. You will hear repeated elements repeated with variations, and it will begin at the same place, and then it will end with a similar line. Round, before the start of the long war, and it's for Rachel Corrie, Rafah, Gaza Strip, 16th March 2003. She knelt in the soil of Rafah before the armored bulldozer's advancing blade. She wore fluorescent orange, so even the gods of the coming war could see her, young woman holding a megaphone aloft in crossed sights of the guard tank. The bulldozer driver had orders demolish the day's quota of homes and thousand-year-old olive groves that blocked the occupier's rising wall. She wore fluorescent orange, reflective stripes brilliant as Joseph's coat as he knelt before his brothers in a pit in the dirt of Dothan. Raising the megaphone like a torch, she rose with earth in the D9 bulldozer's advancing scoop till she was eye level with its cockpit. There would be no accident in the guard tank's gun sights. She was eye to eye with the D9 driver. What did she say, lowering her megaphone to him who had orders to knock down the village doctor's home in the shadow of Gaza guard towers? There would be no accident, but the driver had his orders, dropped his eyes, dropped his bulldozer's blade. Her megaphone rolled away as her foot caught in the toothed scoop. She slipped. Her shocked comrades, in their own fluorescent vests, ran toward her, screaming "No!" as panic flashed across her face, brilliant as tracer fire bleeding each night in the Gaza sky. Night in the D9 driver's eye as thick dirt pushed up by the advancing blade poured over her. The 9-ton bulldozer rolled over her, stopped, reversed, rolled back, withdrew. Her comrades screaming threw themselves over the broken form they dug from the packed earth's tracks. Only darkness in her eyes rolled back. Blood's shocked petals spread over her face as if to shield her from her own blood source, as sobbing, praying friends cradled her body's ebb, and gods of the long war drew back on the village's crumbling doorsteps. No light in the bulldozer driver's eye, who'd witnessed everything from his lofty cockpit, the orange-striped girl tumbling from his sight level like Joseph into a pit in Gaza, her blood-brilliant coat delivered unto her father, her mother, as the tanks and bulldozers crushing treads tracked back to the iron wall's perimeter and drove off. No aid for the dying girl as minutes before the ambulance arrived grew to seem years across the iron wall where she went on kneeling in the soil of Rafah. And that's for Rachel Corey. And the last poem I'm going to read is the final one that I ended the reading with yesterday as well. It is actually going to be the title poem of my new and selected poems, which is going to be forthcoming either later this year or perhaps next year. It's called This Dream, the World. That will be the title of the new and selected poems. Excuse me, but this poem itself is, the title is derived from the first line of a poem by Oregon's beloved former poet laureate and beloved Northwest poet William Stafford, who passed away in '93. But he has a poem called Vocation that begins with the line that begins this poem. And this poem originated, I was sleeping and I woke up. As I woke up, I heard that line of Bill Stafford's poem in my mind, and then before my feet hit the floor, as we say, I started writing the continuation that became this following poem. And it is dedicated to it's in the memory of my sister, but it's also from my mother. It's called, and I'll just start it, the title is what they call a read-in or a lead-in title. This dream the world is having about itself won't let us go. The western sky gathers its thunderclouds. It has no urgent need of us. That summer in our late teens, we walked all evening through town. Let's say Cheyenne, or as I said yesterday, Eugene, right? We were sisters at the prairie's edge, I who dreamed between sage-green pages, and you, a girl who feared you'd die in your 20s. Both of us barefoot, wearing light summer dresses from the 30s, our mother's good old days, when she still believed she could live anywhere, before her generation won the war and moved on through the 40s. As we walked, a riderless tricycle rolled out slowly from a carport. Fathers watered lawns along the subdivision's treeless streets. We walked past the last houses and out of the 50s. The Oregon Trail opened beneath our feet like the dream of a furrow turned over by plow blades and watered by Sakakawea's tears. What did the fathers think by then, dropping their hoses without protest, as we girls disappeared into the 60s? We walked all night, skirting the hurricane force winds in our frontier skirts so that the weather forecasts for the 70s could come true. The Arapahoe's final treaties for the inland ranges could fulfill themselves ahead of the building sprees. We walked on, but where was our mother by then? Your lungs were filling with summer storms, and my eyes blurred before unrefracted glacial lakes. Limousines started out from country inns at the center of town. They meant to drive our grandparents deep into their 80s. Our mother, in her remodeled kitchen, whispered our names into her cordless phone, but before the 90s were over, both of you were gone. Mother's breath was shadow, but her heart beat strong all the way into the cloud wall. You carried your final thoughts almost to the millennium's edge, where the westward-leaning sky might have told us our vocation. In open fields, we would watch the trail deepen in brilliant shadow and dream all the decades ahead of us. Thank you, Lane Writers Series. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, everybody who attended yesterday, and thank you for everybody who observes this now on the little glowing screen of Joan's laptop computer. Okay, thanks, everybody, and see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.